What's up, Reject Nation? We got mics this time to have better quality audio for this specific video. If you guys haven't seen yet, we did do a reaction to the Justice League announcement. I didn't know when it was going to happen. You guys should go check that video out because my heart rate has calmed down. My headache is slowly going away.
The intense hyper-focus mode is dissipating.
Because I was very late to learning the news about when the stream was going to be. I was hearing all this chatter, obviously like everyone else, about Zack Snyder meeting with AT&T and blah, blah, blah. I woke up at like 8 this morning, and then I was like, let me just see when this stream is supposed to be, because I'm hearing word that he might announce it, right? And I was like, oh, crap, it's today. You know?
Yeah, bright and early.
And I'm like, oh, the stream's happening right now on the Vero app? What the hell is this? So I downloaded the Vero app, and then I just put my headphones on, and I was listening to it the whole time. I texted John. I was like, dude, can you come over? It's at like 10:30 because the movie should end around that time. And so I listened to the whole thing, and it was actually a really great commentary. And I know the movie well enough to not have to feel like I have to watch along. So I was like pay attention as if it's just some audio track. And it was really exciting stuff. We had the camera was ready to go, and then sure enough, it's like a fan asked him, and I thought it was so beautiful because I'm like, you could feel it coming. Because at first he's misleading. The fan asked, "When's the Snyder Cut coming?" And then he answered it in a way that was I don't know. Let me just play the footage for you.
When will you release the Snyder Cut?
Yeah, when will I release it?
Don't cut the stream this time.
I'm not really in control of it necessarily, right? I mean, I've said it exists, and I've been very clear with what I did with it. You know, it's not really up to me per se. If it was up to me, I would have probably already like left it on a thumb drive in a bathroom somewhere.
So then when he answered it that way, man, is it not actually going to happen? Then he did the thing with his glasses, the reflection. And we're trying to add it on our computer. I was like, "What did you see? What was that? What was that? What was that?" I was like, "Oh, it's here."
Rewind that, zoom in, enhance.
I'm like, "Here, record right now." It was really exciting stuff. Immediately, the second he announced it, a notification went off on our Gmail, HBO Max releasing it. It was all obviously very timed, right? And then Hollywood Reporter put out this article that I thought would be fun to go through and break down, that John found, that was pretty much breaking down the plans for the actual cut in and of itself. And there's some really good information in here. It's not really going to go through like the scenes that weren't in the movie per se, but pretty much the process and how this got made, what their plans are going to be, and why they decided to go down this streaming service path. There's a lot of really great stuff in here. We'll link the original article in the description box. Probably at the end talk a little bit about that Ruby Rose stuff. Okay? But I mean, that'll be short. This is like the main entree of this platter today.
Oh yeah.
I just want to say up front, I saw comments coming in on that video of people being like, "Oh, money can buy anything. Of course you guys want it now." And I put this out on our community page and Twitter. We did a video November 23rd, 2017 that was going through the petition, the first petition that went around for releasing the Snyder Cut. Title of the video had "Should we sign it?" Went through the whole petition. You could see me getting persuaded, and I was like, yeah, I want this Snyder Cut. And I flat out put it out there in the ether for everyone to see that I am on the train for releasing the Snyder Cut since November 2017. I was one of the people who did enjoy, who did really like the version of Joss Whedon's that did come out. I acknowledge that I really like it because it's just a really fun movie. You could see kind of the Saturday morning cartoon they were going for. That being said, that does not mean that I have not been one of the people who have been championing to have this movie come out as well.
Well, and I think the excitement, too, isn't just us going, it's going to be great, because, you know, it could end up any which way, but it's the excitement of the fact that this is a moment. Like, the studios have literally acknowledged what everyone has been shouting for so long, and it's a pretty big and pretty fascinating thing to see actually happen, you know?
It's crazy. I mean, like, Sonic the Hedgehog was the first movie that had this, like, movement occur.
Wow, fans really impacted that.
Yeah. And this is something that could have easily died. We're always seeing petitions come out for replace this director or do this, do that.
Reshoot all Game of Thrones.
And this has been something that fans have been really hardcore championing for years now. Years. And to see it fulfilled, whether this movie's good or not, it's just awesome that it's coming out.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And for as kooky as everything's been with the DCEU, it is another development where you're like, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it is a creative choice, which I do appreciate.
It might not be a movie, exactly, as this
Like a
article will go
series?
into. But hey, let's go into this article, okay? So here the morning after was her agent saying that Toby Emmerich, chairman of Warner Brothers Pictures, was acknowledging the movement and more importantly was willing to exceed. This is real. People want it. Would you guys ever consider doing something? Was what Emmerich was asking. Months ago, and I think I heard it from Grace Randolph from Beyond the Trailer first, Toby Emmerich was the one who was mainly championing to have this done.
Well, good on him. You know, for as much crap as executives get.
Here's what Zack Snyder said about it. It will be an entirely new thing, and especially talking to those who have seen the release movie, a new experience apart from the movie. I'm glad he's saying that because I went through the first 100 comments on our video. Of course, there's a lot of people who are saying how different can it really be for those who haven't been really following the leaked details of what was cut out of that version. For him to acknowledge this is important because this will be a very different experience. And then he goes on to say, you probably saw 1/4 of what I did. So for anyone who's asking about how different can this be, Joss Whedon did reshoots and did different scenes, and he also cut out a shit ton of stuff. For him to say 1/4, I mean, let's put it in a different perspective. That's 3/4 of a film that were not featured in there. You know, that's a lot of that's like 75% of a movie.
And
man.
I'm also sitting here going, is that 1/4 of the 2-hour cut down you turned in? Because that could mean that there's even more, with the original cut being like 4 hours.
Right,
you know?
exactly. The article goes on to say, before Emmerich came calling at Snyder, I always thought it was a thing that in 20 years, maybe somebody would do a documentary and I could lend them the footage, little snippets of a cut no one has ever seen. Kind of like the death of Superman, that produced documentary by John Schnepp. That's what I thought. Because I remember signing that petition and still thinking it's probably not going to happen, even though I'm hoping it'll happen.
Yeah.
I think that was the only movie petition I've ever actually signed.
I was going to say, usually those draw your ire.
I didn't think it would actually happen. I thought we would get a documentary, and I still feel like there will be a documentary about this.
Yeah, now it's just going to be everything. Now it's going to be the complete package of content.
I mean, and if it ends up becoming, let's say worst case, it ends up coming out and being disappointing for people, it'll even make for a better documentary.
Yeah. It'll be, and then that'll get made in 20 years once the dust settles.
I mean, I'm really hoping that it is really good. I'm hoping it's great. I'm putting my faith out there. After everything I've heard about it.
Yeah.
Adds Deborah Snyder, with the new platform and streaming services, you could have something like this. You can't release something like this theatrically, but you could with a streaming service. It's an opportunity that wasn't there 2 years ago, to be honest. I mean, that's a great point. Like with HBO Max being announced, honestly, I don't know anyone who's really been excited for HBO Max.
Well, yeah, everyone's just going, why do I need this when I already have X amount of other things, And
then whatever new promos are putting out for the service, it's not exciting anyone. This is evidently the first thing to excite people. The fact that this was like a 4-hour cut originally, and he was trying to get it down to 2.5 hours, something like that. The article will go into later. Yeah, a streaming service would be the ideal platform to release this on, especially because you do have your DCEU, whatever the hell the universe is called now. You do have that universe still ongoing.
The Warner Brothers universe of DC characters.
You have that going. It's doing its thing. And then you have their standalone stuff like Joker. To create less confusion and to make this easier for people to latch onto, putting it on a different platform that is still accessible for the world. This is a streaming service is the best bet. More than a Blu-ray release. You know?
Totally.
Yeah. In January 2017, he had what he considered his optimal version of Justice League, almost 4 hours long. Although he knew it was something the studio wouldn't release. Warner's wanted to cut in the 2-hour range, and he delivered a rough version with an approximate 2-hour, 20-minute runtime. That was the first cut the studio saw. Both sides agreed that there was much work still to be done before the November release, but tragedy struck the Snyders with their daughter, Autumn, died by suicide. May she rest in peace. A month and a half later, Zack officially stepped away, and Whedon was brought in. The one part in that article that I could, especially with the fact that Warner Brothers seems to have worked this out, because there was always the rumor or the conspiracy, whatever you want to call it. They used that as an excuse to fire Zack Snyder. That was a big thing that was going around. It seems like with the press releases that are going, obviously Hollywood Reporter had this article ready to drop,
Right when that announcement happened.
It came out, instantly.
Because this is a thick article. This is an edited down version of the article.
At least the story that they're still sticking with, and so I'm just going to take it as truth. He did have to go because he had to grieve for his daughter, at a time like this.
And I mean, they go on in the article to touch on that more. I can't imagine some kind of true conspiracy being that.
Yeah.
You know, like, give them some space.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, in a situation like that, I wouldn't want the guy to be making the movie. You know?
Yeah. I hate when people make conspiracies about things like that, especially.
Article goes on to say, forget that the version that fans wanted technically didn't exist. What did exist was a semi-unfinished work with no visual effects, no post-production. One person who had just seen that version described it like a car with no panels, just a drivetrain and some seats, and it sat on a hard drive in the Snyder's house. When we left the movie, I just took the drive of the cut on it. I honestly never thought it would be anything. There is a documentary waiting to be made within this story.
It does feel like an actual, like you feel like you're watching a real life little movie about a filmmaker just trying to get his dream made.
Yeah.
You know, like you've seen that movie before. And yeah, little things like that. Like, what if he didn't take the drive?
Exactly.
You know? Would this still be happening?
I mean, and to have such a tragedy happen, but to have the fan support and to think like this dream of building to this Justice League movie, something that he's been very passionate about, invested many, many years into making and developing, like to get to that point. There's an inspiration to this. Let's hope the movie's really good. It was on the 2-year anniversary, however, that the Zenith hit and the hashtag became a top worldwide trend. Hashtag
Release the Snyder Cut
is the most tweeted hashtag about a movie that WB has ever made, but it's a movie they never released. It's a weird stat, but it's cool.
That is pretty sweet.
Yeah, because he wasn't like instantly coming out.
No.
Asking for it. There's nothing in this article that hints at he had to sign something and not talk about it.
This feels very grassroots in an odd way.
Yeah.
It's like the fans picked up the ball and then ran with it, and then he was like, "Oh, damn. Well, okay. I guess I'm gonna watch the game then."
I mean, it was a long time before Zack Snyder really started chiming in, going, "Yeah, we should try to do this."
Yeah.
It wasn't instant, you know, and I think that's cool because of that level of momentum and passion that drove him to participate in the release of the Snyder Cut. After that Saturday morning phone call, the Snyders began to move puzzle pieces into place. We had to figure out what it meant to finish it and how do you pull it off, recalls Deborah, who was in the Vero live stream towards the end. The Snyders put together a presentation and in early February invited a select group of executives from Warner Brothers, HBO Max, and DC to their house in Pasadena to screen Zack's little scene version that was shown in black and white.
We're going to Pasadena.
All the images have been in black and white. So I wonder if there is some like black and white. Obviously, there's a black and white cut.
I would love to watch a black and white cut. Actually, that gets me especially excited.
The number of executives in the room, there were more than a dozen in attendance, ranging from Warner's Emmerich, Caroline Blackwood, Walter Hamada, and Courtney Valenti. I don't know half of them. To HBO's Max, Kevin Riley, Sarah Aubrey, and Sarah Dewey. To DC's Jim Lee. I know DC's Jim Lee. I don't know the former three.
They're good friends of mine.
Show the importance of the potentially extensive undertaking. Heads of physical production and business affairs were there to assess what needed to be done and how much it would cost. At his presentation after the screening, Snyder outlined ideas for not just releasing the cut, but the concept of episodes and cliffhangers. That's cool. I love that how that was his idea. Like it sounds like him and Deborah's idea of how they would handle like this mini series rumor that's been going around.
Oh, yeah.
And that might be the best bet, especially to distinguish itself
and make it
separate.
A new kind of event, and maybe take some of the pressure off of it being like a great 4-hour movie.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, if the first episode has some issues, they can always go do more research.
The executives left the meeting pumped. Yeah. The Snyder Cut was real, except then it almost wasn't. The novel coronavirus struck, and Hollywood all but shut down. Like this is what I mean, man. Like
It's
this
a roller coaster.
This is a documentary story. It's like overcoming constant obstacles to have your dream fulfilled.
Yeah.
The novel coronavirus struck, and Hollywood all but shut down in mid-March. Deborah, people thought it won't be possible to ramp up and that maybe this should go on the back burner. But we said, no, this is the right time because our visual effects houses that rely on so much are running out of work. And so now is the time to be doing this. It also helped that many of those post facilities had held on to the original assets.
Oh, dude.
That is great.
Everyone's rainy day fund is working out.
I mean, everyone who worked with Zack Snyder seems like they really preferred that version. Everyone had come out, visual effects people, the cinematographer, the cast. Like,
I'm just just waiting for Joss Whedon to come out and be like, I personally hated everything. I don't know why I did anything.
Evidently, though, for this to be going on is also a great time for the people who are not able to do the work needed to, make some money. This is a great opportunity for them to keep them busy.
Yeah, and I really admire that aspect to even think of that because, there's so much fanfare around it and there's so much personal stuff tied to it. And so for them to be like, yeah, let's give these underappreciated industry professionals some actual work too is a solid move.
Snyder also spent April and May reaching out to the sizable cast, giving a heads up on the new development and letting them know their services may be needed. First person called Ray Fisher, who played Cyborg. Oh, I didn't even read this part. He was like, you're kidding me, right? That's cool.
And then he called Ezra Miller.
Yeah. And then Ezra Miller got so excited he choked somebody. Oh, we're making the movie. I'm so glad Ray Fisher was the first one they called because he got the short end of the stick.
It really makes me happy, yeah. And he was one of my favorite parts of that movie.
There is no schedule going forward at this stage for the project as talks are now beginning with post-production houses, which also gives HBO Max plenty of time to find the best way to present this version of Justice League. Snyder's at the same time in post on Army of the Dead, which has Christy Elia, his zombie thriller for Netflix that will also debut in 2021. For the Snyders, the chance to revisit the movie also brings a prospect for closure on a project they were forced to let go. This movie was the culmination of a hero's journey that all these characters went on, and the idea was always to build them up to be the heroes people expected them to be. That's cool. So going from the dark side of and honestly, from what they've talked about and said, it lines up with the first trailer that came out from Justice League, which did present a more heroic tone to it, because I like Man of Steel. I like it a lot. BVS, I mean, there's no denying it. We're not big fans of that movie, all right?
I dislike that movie.
Yeah. But the Justice League, I remember the first trailer, that got me really excited because that did feel more like, it wasn't like trying to be Marvel, but it seemed like it was going in that direction of a more positive light.
Yeah, at least something you could root for actively.
Have more of that heroic tone to it. And while the cut will contain the many elements Zack has teased over time, yes, expect Darkseid. Awesome. The duo also relish adding a fair amount of character development. What's so lovely about this is that we get to explore these characters in ways that you're not able to in a shorter theatrical version.
That gives me the most hope for the quality.
Especially honestly. For Zack Snyder, because anytime he does an extended cut, it's always better. And like, I honestly, I strongly disliked BVS, and partly because, there's just so much that doesn't get to flow into a 2.5 hour movie. So I think, the series idea plus that extra flesh is a terrific concept. Well, the ultimate edition of BVS, it's strange because there's only like 15 to 20 minutes extra of footage, but it does make the movie I definitely prefer that version. And the motives make more sense and it flows better in that version. So I would say I like the Ultimate Edition version. Okay. I'm not a fan of the theatrical version overall.
I'll watch it.
The Snyders know that the fan power is what led to the Snyder Cut becoming a reality. That's what was so cool about the stream, was that he had fans come on to celebrate the announcement with them. I don't know how these fans were selected, but they came on and it was cool. Clearly, this wouldn't be happening without them. He also credits Warner's for living up to its old reputation as the filmmaker studio. You gotta.
Yeah, after all those weird decisions, coming back to it.
And he adds, this return to the pedigree and to let my singular vision of my movie be realized in this format and this length is unprecedented and a brave move. I can't argue with that, man. I can't argue with that.
It's weird. I remember when they first resurrected Family Guy, like when TV shows were doing that. And for something like this, I've never actually experienced before,
Well, this is $20 million.
Yeah,
and this
or 30, maybe more.
Is for a cut of a movie that came out just a couple years ago, or like a few years ago, right? If anything, I thought this might have been that Superman 2 Richard Donner cut, where many years later we get either the John Schnepp thing with the documentary, or we get the random we're getting the original cut now. And I thought that's the direction we'd be headed. But for this to happen so soon, while the fandom and the outpouring of demand for this is still so strong and relevant, surprisingly, after several years, after we've already had a $1 billion Aquaman movie, Shazam, Joker, and for this to still be talked about and for people to still be excited about the new Batman movie, even though Robert Pattinson's not working out.
He's going to get fat for the movie.
It looks like they're going to have to get the original cast back. Ben Affleck, I'm excited for him to properly finish this out because Ben Affleck has had such a strange journey with Batman, and despite my personal opinions on BVS, I still thought Ben Affleck was incredible. This would be a cool return for him. Obviously, Jason Momoa has been very supportive about it. The rest of the cast has obviously been very supportive about it. That's the breakdown of what to expect. I'm excited for what we're gonna see here.
Yeah, I mean, it makes me wonder. Like, I almost feel like if the coronavirus hadn't happened, this might not be happening the way it is. You know,
Yeah.
because also you can bet that part of it is they're going, we can't produce a lot of new content.
Yeah.
We have all this footage here. We can make something out of.
I mean, they're going to work with what they got now, and then they're going to go back and then do the reshoots they need to. Ben Affleck has time to do that training montage again from BVS.
Yeah, woo.
And then really quick, the Ruby Rose situation with her leaving Batwoman. Honestly, I didn't hop on wanting to do a video about it because I haven't watched the Batwoman show. Like, I've seen Ruby Rose in the crossovers. I saw her first introduction in the crossovers. I mean, I said in a live stream not long ago that I could feel from the few times I've seen her in these event episodes and from the trailer too with Batwoman. I could enjoy Ruby Rose's Batwoman enough in the like supporting role. If she's part of this ensemble and she's not the main character, I could enjoy her there. I definitely didn't ever love her portrayal. I wasn't a fan of the idea of how like people were just like hating the crap out of her.
No.
When all that was going on, when this was announced, she eventually left Twitter. What's weird about this? What's weird about this is that there was a lot of build up to Batwoman. Batwoman comes out, has its first season. They introduce like this Batman character, I think at the end or something like that. A person who's actually the face of Bruce Wayne, and we finally got a face to Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
And it allowed the ratings to go up on Batwoman after like 2 weeks ago or something. People were saying the ratings are going down for this show during quarantine. This is bad. And then she leaves the show. This is not the first time a lead has left. I mean, usually it's for, sometimes it could be more tragic reasons. Like I watched Spartacus, the show last year, and the actor who plays Spartacus died in between seasons, so they had to replace him. I haven't seen Batwoman, so I can't really attest to how much fans will miss her. And I'm seeing a lot of people who are doing videos on this, and we're one of them now, who haven't seen, who don't watch the show but are talking about it, you know?
It's one of the ones that I've not really ever heard a kind word toward, and not that I was looking for, negative feedback, but yeah, of, Supergirl and Batwoman both, and I feel like Batwoman more has, that backlash on arrival. And with Ruby Rose, like, I am open to her. I mean, like, I like her general look and everything, and I've seen her in things that I've enjoyed her in, but I feel like the casting there, just the way it strikes me, was almost like she's really big right now, she's getting a lot of these bit parts. Let's just throw her into something without actually having her prove, the amount of chops and gravitas you need to do to center a Batwoman type of story.
The press release was the most generic of press release announcements, so I don't think there's any worth in even breaking it down of what she said.
There's got to be something underneath that.
I mean, I just think that the experience and fandom community is probably a big driving force that pushed her away. I'm not going to really talk about her performance because I haven't seen the actual show itself. I've only seen her on the crossovers. I didn't find her portrayal on the crossovers to be as strong as the other performers. Like I said, she was fine, but for the level of power that's required to lead one of these shows, it just didn't intrigue me enough to go watch it. From what I've heard, and this is only from what I've heard, that a lot of people didn't like her portrayal. And I'm sure a big part of that drove her away, and I'm sure WB heard a lot of this too and was like, we could probably do better with someone else. People probably won't miss her. That's just the blunt side of this.
This is the bookends video where on the one hand you're like, look how great fan involvement can be, and then you have the other side where, and it's not necessarily the entire reason, but at least part of it I have to imagine comes down to people are harassing you because they just don't like what you're doing with this character or whatever, which there's so many decisions and factors that figure into that, and that is an aspect of fandom I find very unfortunate.
Yeah, I mean, but we don't know. We don't know.
The
thing is, we have to remember we don't know. The thing is, it's like what we speculate on, what most people are speculating on sounds likely, but we don't know.
Well, and I always feel like if they release a very generic statement about something, there's just got to be some kind of harsh truth underneath that's not being revealed yet.
I'm
sticky situation.
I feel like this would be best for Ruby Rose for her mental health, considering the way fandom has reacted to her. I don't want to say treated her, but reacted to her.
That's got to be a huge bummer for her, because what an honor to be cast as Batwoman.
And then, of course, with Warner Brothers, they might be cool with it too, so that way they can find someone who fans might latch onto more.
I'm sure. I'm sure they'll be fine with it.
Yeah. All right, guys. Lots of news for today. Are you excited for the Justice League Snyder Cut? Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Yeah.
What do you think about Ruby Rose leaving?
Release the Ruby Rose cut of season 2.
Just
Petition.
deep fake her face on that.
Do
whole
it.
thing. Yeah. Subscribe to The Real Rejects. Click that notification bell. Last but not least, patron of the day shout out. Jason Dolan. Jason, I want to give you a sincere thank you this time. All right.
Release the Dolan cut.
I wanted to say, dude, that not long ago, I got on the phone with you and we talked for like half hour, 40 minutes. You've done so much for both of us in the amount of time that we've gotten to know you. I was going through a really challenging time and there was like some hard things I was dealing with a couple of weeks ago. The fact that you were just there for me and you just took the time out in the middle of you having to handle a whole bunch of stuff means a hell of a lot. We made a lot of friends over at our Patreon page. You are someone who is, I consider, like genuinely a really great close friend of mine now. I'm very much appreciative towards you and for everything. Yeah, like beyond, like, yes, you got us a camera, you've held us out many times and many things, you pledged our Patreon page, but more importantly, emotional support. You have been incredible in that department, especially in my life.
And creative support, too.
Absolutely, 100%. I really thank you heavily from the bottom of my heart for everything you've done for us, and more importantly, just being an incredible friend. Hope to see you again soon once this whole pandemic is over and you come to California or we go to Atlanta.
Ooh,
we'll see.
That's good. Meet and greet.
Anyway, love you, dude. Yeah, meet and greet, Jason.
Just you. Exclusive. Live stream it.